Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
So, of course, things would be kind of messing up a little bit this morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 30th. I want to make sure everything is good. I have a guest in. I had to kind of move some things around a little bit. So we're going to bring him on in just a second. As I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, that I have wanted to get this brother on the Java Cafe for a while now, and it's been totally my fault as far as getting him on. And so we're here today, but since then, he has decided to become a candidate and run for the mayor of the city of Boston. And so he is here as Domingo Darosa, community highlight. But we're going to flip him over to candidate in the last 5 minutes. And I told him he better be ready. And one thing I can unequivocally say, everybody knows I support Mayor Wu, but this is a friend and brother that I have known. And I'm going to ask him how long it's been, because my earliest memory is when I was assigned to the Holland when he was a lifeguard. And so without further ado, we're getting ready to bring into the Java Cafe. He's live and in studio, so it's going to be a very interesting energy. I'm going to be in the background because this distribution program said that LinkedIn wasn't showing, and I want to make sure that all platforms are able to see us as they do every day. So, Mingo, what's up, brother?
Coolin', man. Good morning.
Good to see you in the room.
Good to be here.
Finally, I mean, it was really your fault. No, sir, I'm not gonna say that. It was my fault. It took a while to get you scheduled. So
you've been busy, man.
I have, but as I said, I support Mayor Wu. You and I are friends. You and I have had convos and different things about it. And, I appreciate the fact that nothing's changed in our friendship. And so I'm not going to get into that too much yet. What I want to do, you've been on the platform before. I think when I reached out last year, it was around getting an update just of everything you're doing, from needles to the coaching to family to all of that. But some people may have not seen you. It's been a couple of years since you've been on the platform. So introduce yourself, and then I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to ask you at the end of your introduction to describe advocacy and activism in general in Boston in one word. In general, I'm telling y'all, this is going to be interesting. So, but seriously, Mingo, please introduce yourself, and we'll go into the journey in a minute. After your introduction and saying good morning, give us that one word for activism and advocacy in Boston.
Well, I'm Domingo Darosa, Bostonian, been here for the last 47 years. I came over at 10 months from Cape Verde. I never left. My family migrated here. Some of them came as early as the late 50s, and they've been here since. And I've made Boston my home over the last 48 years. BPS grad, class of 96. Shout out to the reunion on Saturday night. We had a great time, seeing a lot of faces. I'm just Mingos. I'm your neighbor. I'm the person down the street that, you'll bump into, in the middle of traffic with a flat or running out of gas but I'm just looking forward to, speaking on issues that we see as a city and how we can go about bringing more people to the conversation to increase the participation so we can address many of the things that we face.
That's definitely one of the things. And again, I'm trying to just get some things situated in the background, but I'll go to that later. That's one of the things that, so also give me your one word for activism and advocacy in the city of Boston right now in general. One word. Oh, you was ready. Okay. So
I've been ready.
We're going to,
I've been ready.
So, all right. Before we get into that, who is Mingo? You said, you're our neighbor. I know you're a dad. I know you. I've seen your consistency, but there are people that are aware of you. You've run for city council at large before, have a lot of name recognition, consistent in a lot of spaces of advocacy and activism. But I want to go back, and, you mentioned you came from Cape Verde at 10 months.
But
10 months. 10 months. Okay.
10 months.
All right.
I know the culture, but don't know the lifestyle. So it's a unique piece.
It is. And as you all know, like, I may have some questions and things in my mind, but I go off the energy of my guests. So where this is going to be interesting. We got 20 minutes because we do have MASSCreative coming in at 10:30. But go back, who is Mingo? What informed your energy? What informs who you are, how you move, the advocacy?
I grew up right here on Dudley Street. My front door was Dorchester. My backyard was Roxbury. I lived on East Cottage, where 18 years of my life, that's where I was. And when we first came to the neighborhood, being Cabo Verdeano, there was a lot of identity crisis going on within our own community because, you're not Spanish, you're not Black, so what are you? So we have a lot of that back and forth dialogue when it comes to the Cabo Verdeano community, but the reality is we are West Coast Africa. And I learned that through meeting friends who migrated a little older in age to America, where they explained to me, this is where we come from. And from there, I was able to see what my peoples are and what we stand for. But growing up on Dudley Street, we were so diverse that, my next door neighbor was Italian. The lady across the street was Puerto Rican. The guy down the street was, another Italian. We had Irish. We was very diverse. So I never seen some of the issues that we see in certain parts of the city. But a BPS student, I was part of that busing. I was shipped out to East Boston. At the time, James Otis was the only school providing Portuguese-speaking people with ESL classes. So I'm not Portuguese. I never learned Portuguese. I never spoke Portuguese, never cared to speak Portuguese. So I rebelled a lot. So I wound up being bounced back to the Emerson.
You rebelled?
Yeah, oh yeah, because I was being forced to learn something
absolutely
that I had no interest in as a kid. I'm talking about, kindergarten, first grade. And that created, a lot of, as they like to call it, learning disabilities. But the reality was they needed to learn how to teach me, not the other way around. And that goes on with a lot of our students. So, years down the line, we had a CDC come to the neighborhood. It was new. We had a lot of people in our neighborhood, including Roy Owens and a few others, Mr. Enrique, Carlos's dad. He was in the neighborhood doing work. We call him Mr. Enrique because, that's just the level of respect we have for the man. And we were able to clean up a lot of these empty lots up and down Blue Hill Ave and Dudley Street. And because of that, I started doing, as they call it now, activism work. But in reality, we was just kids looking for something to do. So we gravitated towards these different events because, again, you help out for an hour, you get a hot dog and a hamburger. What kid don't want a hot dog and a hamburger? And that's where it began. But unconsciously, it began. It wasn't something that I set out to do. It was just something that was in our neighborhood, and we wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than us. So, years later, I continued to do that. 92, I went to Madison where I met Coach Robinson and Coach Wilson.
Wait a minute. You went to Madison at 92?
Yeah, that was my first year in Madison. And, it was a tough school, very tough school at the time. But through the sports, meeting people like G-Man, Chris Grifford, Chris Brady, Adam Lumber. Like, I got bros that, I'm a freshman hanging out with seniors, and that's rare.
That was the same thing with me. I got there as a senior and I hung with freshmen, but when I was a freshman at Madison, I hung with more seniors. So I definitely get that. Speed us up to one of the things, let's just cut to the chase. One of the things that you were known for, and whether candidate or whatever, whether people don't like you or whatever, your consistency is undeniable. Going back and if you could just speak to this a little bit, that, a South End Roxbury partnership now, but this goes back all the way almost 11 years from you mentioned Carlos. There was a hashtag that really started bringing attention to needles in the park. Yeah. And then it evolved. Leon Rivera, other people's, then Yahida's mom became, a victim of some things. And so take us back to how you got in there. And then we're going to talk about things that you're working on now. And in there, I know Clifford Park, the Needle Collection, you and the former governor and things like that will come up. So give us about a good, because in 10 minutes, I'm going to flip you to a candidate. And so give us about a good 3 to 5 minutes of one of your, I don't want to say one of your most claims to fame, because your biggest claim to fame is your consistency and also being a youth worker and a coach. I've seen it on the street, definitely seen it on your post. And so speed us up to one of these major areas for which you're known is MASSCreative.
Well, growing up on Dudley Street, you know, Fundo's was my front door. Like, and people know the reputation that Fundo had through the 80s and the 90s. I watch a lot of different things happen within the neighborhood. So I've always been aware of what it looks like when it comes to the drug use. Hanging out in Orchard Park, going to school at the Dearborn, the Emerson, this was a daily occurrence. Like, we watched this all day, every day. It was a norm, but I didn't want it to be a norm for the next generation. After spending 23 years as a city employee with, you know, BCYF and running around teaching kids how to swim across the city, competing and training and so forth, I noticed how some communities didn't have the same landscape, to keep it in the, you know, in the context where people can understand. And I said, why is it that the kids in my neighborhood, as young as, you know, 3-4 years old, have to be subjected to this ongoing drug use, drug dealing, prostitution, lewd acts, and violence that comes along with that, and many other things? So I took it upon myself to say, hey, you know what? After I became the Boston Bengals president, I said, look, I'm gonna come out here every day and ensure that these kids are safe, because it reflects on my character. You know, I want to have a great program, but I also want to have a safe program.
Let me chime in and ask you one quick question there, not to deviate too much, but there is, when you said that what's going on in your neighborhood is a reflection on your character, from, and you can speak to these combos from, you know, the conversations when, you know, young people dealing with stuff in South Bay, fighting and different things. There's this one notion of it starts at home, responsibility of the parents, but then also you've often in our times of conversation have talked about men stepping up. Can you go a little bit into, if you had the ability to speak to every man in Boston based on that statement you just made, what's going on in your neighborhood is a reflection on your character? Like, that's major. I go a little bit deeper there for about 30.
Well, it goes into the
minute.
It goes back, for me, as the product that they put in our neighborhoods. So, you know, we're all entrepreneurs. 9 out of 10 of us are entrepreneurs, but we got the wrong product. So when you walk down the street, the first thing they see is another drug dealer, even though you might have never had any of those things in your pockets. But that's always been the norm. No matter where I went, that's the first thing the cops will say to me: what you got in your pockets? What do you mean? You ain't selling drugs? Why do I got to sell drugs? So we have to change that. We have to change the way we put that characteristic out there, because a lot of us have the capabilities of being CEOs. The problem is no one wants to give us the opportunities, because they put us in this box because we come from the same community. We have the same outcome. I'm not, and I said this in high school, I'm not going to wind up dead at 18, and I'm not going to be in jail. But that's what they preach to us. Oh, you're black, you're from this neighborhood. Because you live in this neighborhood, you're always going to be in this box of characters. Well, here I go at 47, turning 48 in the next 16 days. And I tell, you know, a lot of my young fellas, think about you being 48 and how do you see yourself? I'm 48. I'm a father of 4. I've been married for 17 years. I've been with my wife for 21 years. And now it hasn't been the greatest 21 years, but we continue to work at it because we learn as we evolve. And this is what I'm telling Boston. Stop sitting back and letting other folks dictate to you how we can move forward. You said it at the beginning, James, we've known each other for over 30 years. So why would your political views and my political views change the way that we break bread?
It changed the way we break bread. And then also there's political views, but nothing about our political views has rocked what we share in morals and values. A different way. And one thing I got to give credit to Dr. Falk. You know, sometimes Rufus, you know, sometimes we don't agree on how we get there, but our destination is the same. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to get too far.
No, I got you. Listen, you can get on the 28 in Mattapan and still wind up at Ruggles. I get on the 15. We still at Ruggles. And we can meet up. That used to be the meetup, right? We used to all meet up downtown Crossing.
That'll preach. I mean, just the analogy there, the way you put it, that'll definitely preach. And I can see at some point we're going to have maybe an After Dark part 2, because the time frame in which we have. So that piece about, you know, the content of your character, if you will. I just wanted to hear that perspective about how what you see going on in your community is a reflection on your character. It's a tenet of mine, but I never heard it articulated like that. But that's basically why you care. Is one of the reasons why you
Oh
quit,
yeah,
correct?
one of the biggest reasons, because again, I was never given an opportunity. I've always made my opportunities.
So let's go into a little bit of that before we got 5 minutes before I start asking you candidate type questions. You're an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Tell us about your business.
Well, it started off with a 50 bag. I mean, it's a product that they gave us, and learning how to understand how to move and function through the avenues given to us, I was able to say, hey, you know what? I have bigger skills than what they've given me. So why not take what I know and turn it into something that I can do for myself, for my family, without having any red tape.
So it was, you say it started with a 50 bag. We
Well,
don't want to have
people
folks.
understand. People understand. Sometimes we don't get those grants, so you got to start with what you have. That's my point to it. I didn't start off with $100,000 worth of funding to buy equipment. I started off with 2 shovels and a wheel.
So go in one. I want to thank you. Speak the evolution, because it's an election season, trolls and all that. I don't want that was what got you started. Talk about don't start. Mingo, we're doing real well. Where is the business now? It started with the 50 bag and then 2 shovels, but where is it like?
I mean, it's grown to a point. I'm not going to please everybody, but I tell you, 1 out of 100 customers that are dissatisfied, that's fine with me. I mean, I give it my all. I give people prices that most people don't realize. Something that would cost you 90 grand, I'm giving it to you for 40. But then on the back end of it, I'm only allowing you to be a part of my business. I don't need your business. I don't need your clients. I don't need your referral. I don't need what you think is going to make or break me. And this is what I'm telling folks. I stand on my 10 toes. Anything I've done in my life, I stand on it. I don't have any, like I said to the Globe in 17, I have a graveyard's a skeleton, not a closet. There's not enough space in my closet to put all my skeletons. So I tell my truth because it's mine to tell. And folks who don't agree with it, that's fine. Because 30 years ago, I was the clown trying to help the neighborhood. I was the clown picking kids up and taking them to the center to keep them off the street corners. 30 years fast forward, now the same people who called me a clown then are the ones now talking about, yeah, I want to be able to do A, B, and C and fix what I destroyed. Well, I was trying to give you a hand up before you destroyed it. So now we're going back. We're not coming forward. We're going back, because now the same people have smoke among themselves because we all looking to outdo each other.
So I want to be fair and give you the opportunity. It's probably a good way to segue into the political sort of conversation. Is you talked about, from your perspective in Boston right now, when I said describe activism and advocacy, you said gatekeeping. Give us context.
Well, I said it this morning to a friend. I said, look, man, my days are up. I'll give my key to the next kid. The next person that wants to come in and do youth violence prevention, here's the keys. This is what I did. If you can use it, use it. My blueprint isn't your blueprint, because I'm not you and you're not me. What works for me might not work for you. This is one of the reasons why I was so excited to lead the city of Boston, because I was able to function the way that I see function. I can't walk up to a kid with a pistol and say, hey, man, put the gun down. I got to walk up to him and show him why he needs to put the gun down. But when you have these parameters set by those in power, we can't help these kids. This is why the street workers program fell apart, because there was so much parameters that the city puts on the program, and then it wasn't being accountable for what they were doing and not doing, that now we have an uproar of young people as young as 12 being caught with guns bigger than their pockets. So how do we change that if we're not willing to fight against the norm? It's not normal for these kids to walk around with pistols. Why does a 12-year-old feel unsafe to the point they don't want to go to school? So, a political point is, we need to go back to community schools, which was originally started in the 60s. We need to have kids going to school within their own neighborhood so they don't have to travel through 7, 8, 9 communities. And one out of those 6, 7, 8, 9 communities, they might have turf wars. Now the kid never goes to school. Why? Because 16, you can drop out. But you want a 16-year-old to vote, but you don't want them to stay in school. So, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. But the reality is we have to allow everybody into the space, regardless of their acronyms before and after their names. You don't need to be a PhD to talk about what goes on in your world, and that's what's been killing us as a community. I'm watching, people. I'm very spiritual, but not religious. But because I'm not,
you are religious.
Nah,
it's a normal.
Cool.
I'm pushing back on you, the semantics, but religious basically means a repetitive practice, and you are religiously committed to community.
No, I'm spiritually committed.
Go ahead, Mingo.
work off of-
You got about 30
2
seconds. I'm about to flip
Okay.
you to candidate.
So that's all I'm saying, man. Let's stop looking at each other as what we don't have and start inspiring each other for what we do have. And that will make a big difference in someone's life. When you tell somebody, hey, listen, man, you can. Instead of saying you can't because you don't have the money or you don't have the know-how, because you don't know what someone has and you don't know what someone's capabilities are. But give them the opportunity. That was my biggest thing in coaching football. I might have a 4-4 season, but I guarantee you every single kid on that sideline will tell you they played.
I want to ask a couple of questions. Now, you all know me. And anybody that, because Mingo knows, early on in his first couple of candidacies, when I've had friends that ran for office, and when they talk to me about running for office, after the conversation, they're like, James, I didn't, you're rude, you're mean. You're like, when it comes to this space, not an expert, but certainly not a novice. And so I'm gonna give him a little bit of fire, just a little bit. And this is me, and I think a lot of people have this question, and you and I have talked about it. With your name recognition, with, I believe, 3 prior times you've run for at large,
Yeah.
what made you go for mayor versus a lot of potential? This would have been your 4th run
Or at large.
for at large. One, do you think if you stayed at large, you would have had an easier path to victory? And then 2, what made you flip to running for mayor?
Well, after seeing what really goes on in the city, it's like, look, at large is not the seat that I need. To make the changes that we're asking for, it has to be from the mayor's seat. Folks are tired of hearing the same spiel. These policies already been in play. The issue is the political will to have them come out. The job residency policy was created in the 70s, late 70s, for Bostonians to give us the opportunities. This is part of the big dig. People don't, if you've been here, you understand that. It was part of the agreement with the state of Massachusetts to keep Bostonians on the big dig. And they came up with that residency policy to make sure that these construction jobs were given to 51% of hours was given to Bostonians and 40% to black and brown. And then it used to be 12. They brought it up to 13%. Now, me as mayor, I would like to see that
30 seconds.
I'd like to see that brought up to 20%. So like that, women, especially black women, have the opportunity to get into the trades so they can have and again, there's a high percentage of black women as single moms. So that will give them an opportunity to have a home instead of just being at work all day. And this is what I say when people say it starts at home. Well, if no one's there, it's not a home.
I'm going to give gut reaction. When you say no one's there, clarify that it's not a home. When you say, no one, period.
My mom and dad's at work all day. Who's there?
I'll be honest, but the reason why I asked that, and for clarity, is because when you said no one's there, and it could be my own point of reference.
No, I got you.
It could be a point of reference, or my mind immediately went to the dad, because you was talking about single moms. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't, if a dad's not there, it's not.
Oh no,
I wanted to make sure that was clear.
A lot of us are working 2 jobs. Myself, I was working literally 20 hours a day. I started work at 11 p.m. at night. I didn't get home till 5 the next day.
And this was while you early days of
early days, because I wanted to make sure, when I put things behind me, I put them behind me. And when I did that, I needed to offset my income. So I had to pick up a second full-time job.
Our next guest is in the building, and so we're going to get ready to wrap up. Give me 3 points, and there's been debate online. You and I had conversation about, and you've seen the post. I'm also going to say publicly, and Mingo does it because I told Mingo to stop commenting on my thing because he's a candidate, and if other candidates was doing it. But one of the things that you put up was, I saw a little bit of policy. And so I want to ask you, yes, you talk about the needles. Yes, you bring attention and everything is wrong. 3 points, concrete points of policy and or programmatic practice that you would put in place within your first 100 days.
The elected school committee be rolled out.
Just around, if you don't mind, just around one of your major advocacy areas around mass and cast. 3 policy points again, specifically for mass and cast.
I go back to humanity. That's, the piece is we got to have a 24/7, 365-day outreach. The needle exchange program has to be revised to fit today's needs, because again, this is something that was created in 91 to offset the pandemic with the AIDS, HIV pandemic. The other piece is the way that we go about monitoring sober homes. There's no regulations on how we monitor sober homes. So pretty much anyone who wants to turn their home into a sober home, they can. There's no licenses and there's no regulations, and the city of Boston doesn't keep track of. And a lot of folks are noticing a lot of these things popping up across the city of Boston, especially in Roxbury and Dorchester.
I mean, right down the street, you know everything that went on with the.
Oh yeah, of course.
Last clarifying question I got, and I thank our next guest for being patient. Sober homes. Needles, you get, so your 3 policies were 24/7, 365 outreach around the clock in specifically the
real true outreach, not just pass you a needle and let you keep pushing.
Okay,
like really taking an intake and making sure that we fill in the gaps to make sure we keep accountability. The
second thing was
the needle exchange. We
the
need
needle
tracking
exchange.
Bars. We need tracking bars on our needles so we know exactly who we gave them to, so we can get them back from who we gave them to, versus finding them all over the city. And we have to have a one-on-one. For every one you give is one we give back, and we have to set a cap at 5 needles a day. We're giving out 35,000 needles a week. That goes up to 87.5 needles per person. The city says there's 400 people on the streets of Boston. Not all of them are using, but those are the numbers they give us. So we're going to divide that, and that gives you
10 seconds. Finish that thought.
Well, that gives you, 87.5 needles per person. Can't nobody shoot up that many times in a week.
And the third policy piece was basically
a tracking system for sober homes. Because a lot of folks,
is that money? Is that applications?
It's all the above, because people are pulling in funds from the city and the state to provide this, sober home. But then on the back end of it, we're not keeping track of where they're at, who's running them, and how they're being ran. We want to make sure when someone goes into these homes, they actually get the services versus just the intake, and then 2 days later you're back out on the streets.
I this is a little bit personal, but even offline when we talk, I tell you how I love your consistency. There's a lot of chatter right now. I have a show coming up tomorrow. We're going to talk about men and emotions, with Carlos Enriquez and whatnot. And in this, and some things very transparently I've been dealing with, you and I have talked about it, my sexuality. And
again, one key word, your sexuality.
Mingo, don't start.
I'm just saying that's the
Mingo. I got to
get James, because James Mingo. Is James. And that's
can I give you the James. Flowers? Can I give you? Nope.
Give me the seeds. I want to grow them.
Stop, because I really appreciate that sentiment that you just did, because in these times it means a lot. I appreciate your consistency. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the fact that, though, as you said and started before, and I think you and I, along with people in this season like Aisha Miller, because after, no matter who wins an election, we're still going to be here. No matter who's in place in the cabinet, we're still going to be here. And that, I think, sets an example. And we haven't always done perfect with it as a community, but we got to start somewhere. So I appreciate you. I am going to run a quick commercial. Richeline, I call her Richie, but we're going to be proper today. Richeline Cadet is in the background getting ready to represent MASSCreative. She is actually in the room today because this young man here, among a few other things, got on me up until I realized that I double booked this morning. We were going to go to the MASSCreative debate tonight, but I made a commitment to some young people. So I'm going to get Mingo out of here so he can go back to work or campaigning or whatever he's getting ready to go do. In all fairness, I have to allow you, one, where can people follow you on social media, and where can they get information about your campaign?
Well, it's DeRosaForBoston.org and DeRosa for Boston on all social platforms. And of course, Domingo's DeRosa.
And is it for
Boston? No, FOR.
Okay. All right. I love you, bro.
Love you too, man.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, absolutely. It was months in the making, but I'm learning that timing is everything. And even today, I appreciate you. Not just as Mingo, but I said I was going to shoot a little fire as a candidacy, as a candidate. And bro, you did quite well.
Well, you gotta remember, that's what I love about our friendship, and it continues to grow. And you inspire me, I inspire you, and at the end of the day, we make change.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. We're going to take a quick commercial break, everyone, and get Mingo on his way. I'm going to have to I'm going to owe Richie at lunch or something, because she's been very patient in the background. Give me about 2 minutes to get this brother out of here. And we'll be back with you in just a couple of seconds.
I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel the pain of my people. They know me, they call on me, and I assure them that I'm not a provider, but I am one who cares. I always say to them, well, it's better to know than not to know, because if you know, you can do something about it. Think about the loved ones around you. Think about the ones that love seeing you come through that door. Take the step and get tested. That's it.
Save lives and get screened for colon cancer. For more information, visit boston.gov/cancer.
For the innovators, the dreamers, the risk takers, independent workers who keep our neighborhoods thriving, Connector Care from the Massachusetts Health Connector has plans for every lifestyle and budget.
Having access to affordable healthcare is for everyone in our community.
Connector Care plans help more people save on healthcare that covers all their needs. Find out if you qualify for Connector Care. Visit mahealthconnector.org or call 1-877-MA-ENROLL.
Hey, everybody, we're back. I appreciate all of you being here, and hopefully you learned about someone just mentioned they got their first colonoscopy. Shout out to you. I'm sorry. Shout out to you that got your, okay, listen, let me reset. I was supposed to reset so I can bring in our next guest, who is a sister that I have known for a few years now, who is in community. We talked about activism and advocacy with my former guest. She is now in a position where she is advocating and activism. She is advocating, I guess. I was going to say activating in the space of arts and culture. And tonight, one of the major things that's going on is the MASSCreative is sponsoring a mayoral debate around arts and culture. And so without further ado, because we're about 10 minutes over time, I would like to introduce to some. And you've been on before, right?
Been on before.
Okay. Give me a little bit. Hold on. Let me get you straight with volume. Speak up a little bit.
Okay. Can you hear me better?
Yes. Use a little bit of your outside voice. Hi,
yeah, I'll try to be a little bit more louder.
Hi, Richie.
Hi.
First of all, it's good to have you here. And I am excited. First of all, every time I lose a few weeks or a couple of months of talking to you, when we catch up, you're doing something different. So
I try. I think that's kind of like the art of like organizing. Like you're always moving around and you're always doing something where you feel like you just try to like step in and fill the gap.
I like how you put that. You know, we're going to talk about the art organizing mayoral debate around arts and culture. And so before we go there, do me a favor, say good morning to everyone. And then after your hello, I would like you to give me one word that describes the state of arts and culture layered with the context of in these times.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's so good to be back on this show. Like, you all know that I love and adore Jimmy very much. And Jimmy's the only person I feel like could get me to like speak in front of a camera without like, like sweating through the whole interview. So I'm really, really glad to be here and to talk about the event that we're organizing tonight. As Jimmy said, my name is Richeline Cadet. Most of you all know me in community as Richie, which is perfectly fine as well. I'm now serving as the director of organizing for MASSCreative. We are a statewide nonprofit who's doing policy advocacy on behalf of the creative sector in the Commonwealth. And we thought it was time to bring a little bit of that activism to Boston and make sure that this mayoral election and every election that the art and culture continue to be like front and center and as much of a priority to these candidates as every other issue because they're not operating in silo. They're all interconnected. So I'm really glad to be able to talk a little bit about that and to tell you all what's to expect tonight for those of you who are interested in attending. If I had to think of one word, I would say, oh my God, this might get me in trouble, but I would say underrated because I think that like some people really don't understand like the impact that the art and culture makes in the Commonwealth. And oftentimes like they try to connect that impact to other things, and it's okay to just say like, oh my God, I can't believe the artists that are living among us are a part of why I have such an amazing time and I enjoy being a Boston resident, or I enjoy being a resident of Massachusetts. So I would say like the impact of the people in the creative sector oftentimes is an underrated impact that needs to be talked about more.
You know, in the context of, you know, these times and what's going on now, being aware that, you know, music and art have played such a pivotal role in advocacy and in getting messaging out there. And so underrated. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And so I have to just draw this pun here real quick. Art Gordon says hi to, I'm sorry, Pastor. The new installed pastor of the historic People's Baptist Church. Good to see you in the room, brother. And this is another example. I've been talking to him for a couple of months about getting him scheduled. Hi, Pastor. Pray for me. Pray for us. You better come on here. Pray for us. And so you talk about, you know, organizing and centering arts and culture, the artist, in the space of the mayoral debate. And so can you give us a little more context of what is it that you're looking to hear from candidates, and how you're trying and what you're trying to raise in the space of electoral politics, in the space of arts and culture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. Thanks for that. I would say like for a lot of people, I think there's a misunderstanding of like what art and culture is outside of just like the practicing disciplines. So when people think about art, obviously they think about, you know, somebody who can play guitar or piano, or somebody who could draw. And those are all really important aspects. Like, you know, the disciplines of art is an important aspect of art and culture. However, when we think about childhood development and we think about art and culture, where it fits into that, like that's art and culture as well. When we think about the things that make people want to travel to different places, like why do people want to come to Boston and experience, you know, our historical trails, or want to experience the State House and want to contribute to the to the economic impact of the Commonwealth? That's art and culture. So I think people have to kind of like broaden, like our entire initiative and why we do what we do is because we want people to broaden their definition of what art and culture is and their understanding of it, because it's more than just an artistic discipline, and you know, people getting to you know, enjoy what they do. I think for our organization specifically, the work that we do is definitely committed and dedicated to making sure that like artists continue to make that impact in the Commonwealth by just having the opportunity to be artists. So when you think about all the core issues that are a priority for these candidates who are running for the city of Boston, they'll talk about housing. Housing is also affecting art and culture. They'll talk about for example, for us, we want to talk about tonight, a lot of the questions that we're going to be talking about is creative space. It's one thing to talk about housing and affordable housing, but it's another thing to talk about dedicated venue spaces for artistic disciplines and what is happening with them, because we have seen an issue in the city in terms of like the spaces that have been preserved or the spaces that has been taken down. So that's one of the top priority for a lot of members of this sector. We have over 500 people registered for this event, and we have a ton of questions that has come through from the registration, and top priority for them are art education, creative space, funding. When you think about the art and culture, the mayor office of art and culture, regardless of who's mayor in the city, like that department needs to be a department that is proactive and that's functional and that's accessible to the members that it's supposed to serve. So I would say like that's priority for us as well, ensuring that like the members, the people, the residents of Boston, or the people who work in Boston and make Boston a beautiful city that people want to come to, people want to, you know, practice their art discipline and want to visit and want to live in, they deserve to be acknowledged and they deserve to be invested in, so that way the city continue to thrive forward.
I want to make sure that I get the website in the comments, because I heard you mention registration. So let's go into, and I don't know why today.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of bad news, but I also have good news. So the bad news is we did have to close down registration yesterday, because we do have to officially make sure that we have the paper trail of who is registered. But the good news is, if you did not have the opportunity to register but still would like to attend tonight's event, you can come in person and we will accommodate you. Like, we will have on-site registration for you. We don't have a we did have to close the virtual option, but the in-person option is still available. So, and we still have room for you all to come. Like the Strand can accommodate up to 700 people plus. So we'll love to have you all show up and be in community with us.
So it's at 6 p.m. at the Strand tonight. Pre-registration has closed. However, you can show up this evening at the Strand Theater at 6 p.m. tonight, and 500 people registered. You know the math around that. That's about 375 of the registrants, and then the people that walk in would be about 425. So there's space for about 200 people if you want to still show up tonight. So anyway, don't let that stop.
I believe it's a little bit more than 500. I think we might be closer to 600 than we are to 500. So the expectation is that we'll have about like 375 to 400 people in attendance, but there's still room for people to be able to walk in. I also want to clarify that like the event is going to actually start at 5:20. Like we will be opening doors at 5:20 for people to come, because the one thing that we also want to make sure, while we're prioritizing the mayoral candidates, we want to also provide an opportunity for you all to talk to your city council at large candidates. We were able to confirm a few of those candidates to be able to do a meet and greet with you all prior to that to the event starting. So between 5:30 and 6 p.m. The majority of the city council candidates at large will be in the venue with us. Excited to meet you all and to talk to you all about their plans and what they want in their platform and why they want to be your city council at large. So we didn't want to just focus on the mayoral candidates, which we are the primary focus, but we also wanted to create space for you all to also connect with the city council at large candidates.
Absolutely. Let me ask you, as we get ready to wrap up, what's coming down the pike from MASSCreative? I know that I've had Michael Bobbitt on, who runs the Mass Cultural Council.
Right.
This is a entity that, you know, really is out there advocating and doing activism. I guess that's the way you say it. Doing activism for artists and for culture, not only physical spaces, but also, you know, residencies and things like that. What is coming down the pike from MASSCreative?
Right. So this is coming for, I think it's really cool when we talk about like the relationship between Mass Cultural Council and MASSCreative, because while Mass Cultural Council is a state entity, like MASSCreative is a nonprofit that operates on its own, and our work also is in collaboration, in partnership, in collaboration with Mass Cultural Council. Like a huge part of our work is ensuring that yearly Mass Cultural Council get the budget that it receives to be able to fund all the artists across the Commonwealth to continue to practice their discipline. So that's just one way that our partnerships exist. But another way that partnership exists is that MASSCreative, we are mainly focused, our advocacy is mainly focused through policy. So this fall, we have 3 bills that are going to be have hearing on them. We have the ACE Act, which is all about accessibility for members of the creative sector, the Space Act, which is about space preservation and creation, and then we have the Place Act. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but the Place Act is mostly focused on ensuring that there's a percentage for public art in the Commonwealth. We want to make sure that you folks who do want to advocate for the art and who do want to make sure that art continues to thrive into the future of the Commonwealth know about those 3 bills and can come and either testify on behalf of those 3 bills or send an email. We have a really beautiful crafted website where you can find all the toolkits that you need to be able to send an email to your legislators to tell them about the bills and why it's important for them to vote in favor of those bills and to support those bills. But, you know, tonight is mostly about municipal election. As you all know, like our government functions in 3 stages. It's federal, state, and local. And next year it's going to be state, but this year it's local politics, and municipal election is just as important as any other election year. So we want to make sure you all have the opportunity to connect with them, the local folks who are running to represent you, because you should know who your mayor is, you should know who your city council at large member is, and you should know who's serving on your kids' school committee, who the school committee members are. So that's just the space that we're trying to curate and trying to make sure that people have access to this evening.
I'm enjoying this. I have to acknowledge the fact that the real Boston media is in the room, and I think all of us they said, "Oh snap, I've never seen Richie's public speaking, so I'm shocked." And it's fire. I love the energy, and this is something, you know, we had the opportunity to partner last year with the real Boss, last year or the year before, to raise funds for another organization that you used to work with. Richie, I hope I don't get you in trouble. And I'm sure Master.
Absolutely not. You're good.
Okay, so I want to ask you in the context of what I was getting ready to talk about when we worked together before. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody the mayoral debate tonight around arts and culture is at 6 p.m. at the Strand Theater in Dorchester. Also, keep in mind that with the mayoral debate beginning at 6 p.m., please also keep in mind that at 5:30 p.m., the doors open at 5:20. You're able to go to the Strand Theater. Even if you didn't pre-register, you can go and register and chat with the majority of the at-large city council candidates tonight at 5:30 p.m. You are a Haitian woman.
I am.
And you alluded to the fact of what's going on, nationally and in the world. I know of your work, in community with the immigration community. And so either a status update, what the community can do to support. I can't have you here. The work we did together, knowing who you are, and MASSCreative. I did this, so no she's on y'all time right now. But getting an air of the leadership and things there. I'm sure this is okay.
Yeah.
Where are we? How are you? And last question. How are you using your art and culture to combat some of the stuff for which you're getting ready to speak?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, Jimmy, you're gonna get me emotional. This is why I don't.
I'm sorry.
Speak because people know that I'm a crier, guys. Like
me too. So don't do that because I'll be as red as this hat and this shirt. Jesus.
Thank you for the question. I'm doing okay. I think that it's not easy being a Black woman in politics, and it's definitely not easy being a person that's living with multiple identities in this country and just seeing what's happening in it. But I think the most important thing that I'm learning is that nothing happened in silo. And while I need my rest and I need to recover and I need to, pour into myself, I don't want to do that alone. I'm blessed to have a very beautiful village and community surrounding me, including my colleagues. I can't think of any other workplace I would want to work in this moment, because I'm so incredibly blessed to be working with two women who are always so supportive and always ensuring that I'm affirmed, and I feel I feel that I'm MASSCreative, Richeline, and all of my identities are just as important as any other space that I walk through in this world. So that is a blessing. I would say that my community work has always been about how can I show up for those in need. Which has been really tough because families that I used to work with, I no longer have access to. I would say some initiatives that I really was passionate about, I had to think about what I wanted, how I want to do them. So this last couple of months, the way that I've been supporting some families has mostly been through food. I've been kind of organizing little food delivery and pantry delivery to folks to ensure that they're getting the necessities that they need without having to put them in risk. And as blessed as I am to have my immigration status be all set, there are people in close proximity to me, like my little brother, who don't necessarily have his document. And when that was happening, we had to navigate that. And when you are somebody who do certain work, you got to make sure that the pushback on that doesn't affect those who are in close proximity to you. So I do think that there's part of it where I had to take a step back. But I think a step back and a delay is never denied. And I've been blessed to be able to still show up for a lot of members of my communities and let them know that if you need me, it's a yes. I always tell people I don't have a lot to offer but my word, but I hope that my action match my word and complements them. I feel for me, it's being able to focus on work and being able to help people who wants to be better advocate for themselves, which is what I get to do here at MASSCreative. I get to make sure that the people who want to learn how to be better advocate for themselves, who want to help others, are still getting to do that. So that's what I've been doing. I've been resting. I've been in community with my village and making sure that they're pouring into me. One piece of art that's been sustaining me, and I think since a little girl I've always been into that, is literature. I'm an avid reader. I've been reading and reading and reading to the point where my brain is you might want to stop for a little bit. So I think it's really great to be to be using my Boston Public School library card. Like, our libraries are under attack. Like, we can't let them shut down. We can't let them take those library cards away. So, make sure your kids have their library cards. Make sure you're going to rent out books in the library. If you have work from home day, you go into the library and you work from the library. It's the little things you don't think are having like really strong positive impact that are. Like, if you the museums are under attack. So if you want to go and visit the museums, go visit the museum and make sure that like you're interacting with the arts that are there. Like, it's like, these are the things that matters the most, and these are the way that you make small impact without having to put yourself in the front line. Like I said, like, it's a great pleasure to be able to go into my Boston Public Library and to rent out a book, or to use my Boston to rent out a space and work for the day. And I may not be making impact the way I was before. I still get to do it in a way that's sustaining me, and that's a blessing.
And impact is impact.
Impact is impact. Exactly.
I've had to learn to shift in some places and whatnot, but as long as you continue to impact, it is absolutely necessary to have the ability to adjust. And so, Richie, I appreciate you for being with us today. I love your energy. I love when we do get to see each other and hug. I love how we can put our little shade and we can look at each other and understand everything in the look. So I appreciate you again to the MASSCreative leadership, which I'm sure isn't an issue, but I could not have her with us, knowing her heart, her work, and what she does, to ask her to speak to that. And so before we go, just make sure we reiterate that tonight at 6 p.m. at the Strand Theater in Dorchester, the MASSCreative is sponsoring a mayoral debate on arts and culture. In addition to the debate that begins at 6 p.m., if you get there, doors open at 5:20, and there is an at-large meet and greet with the majority of the at-large candidates. Registration is closed, but if you get there, they will register you in person. So show up tonight at 5:20 p.m. Richie, I'm saying publicly that I double booked, and I could make it happen, but you understand self-care and the anxiety that comes with leaving somewhere at 6:30 and trying to get to the Strand by 7. I'm with young people tonight, and so I know you would say, Jimmy, go with the young people, but I would love to, I think, as a makeup, is if you in a nonpartisan, non-biased manner, if maybe in the next week or so you want to come back and maybe share the takeaways from residents and whatnot around this to keep this conversation going around arts and culture, I'll offer that as a makeup for not being able to make it tonight. And Kelsey's probably just finding out watching the show. Hi, Kelsey.
I was gonna say Kelsey's probably really excited about that.
I was, and I got to give credit to Domingo. He was doing, James, that one you need to show up because you were podcasting and art, So I was going to try to make it work, but I'm also doing better, and as we talk offline.
And I'm proud of you.
Oh, but we're not going to go there. So Richie, we'll see you tonight. We'll.
One last thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I want to quickly say that thank you so much to all of you all who have registered, but also thank you to the incredible people who are working behind the scenes with my team to make this happen. This initiative is a nonpartisan initiative, and what I love the most about a nonpartisan effort like this is that candidates know that there's not an endorsement at the end of this. So they're coming forward and they're doing this because they know it's important to connect with you all as constituents and to tell you about their platform and to encourage you to go to the poll on September 9th to vote for them. So this is my favorite way to campaign, and this is my favorite part of politics, when the candidates earn what they are working for. So I want you all to show up and to hear their answers to these questions. It's all questions that were curated that you all submitted. So I would be remiss if I didn't thank our incredible host committee and our steering committee. We've been working for months and months and months with our steering committee. We have folks from Company One, Art Stays Here, Grub Street, and so many more who I'm forgetting and I'm not able to give a shout out to. But I just want to thank our incredible partners and our incredible coalition who's working behind the scenes with our team to make this possible. So I didn't want to log off without saying that, but I thank them so much, and I appreciate their partnership and collaboration in making this possible.
Always. And so I owe you a date. And not endorsement, but just the takeaways. I'm sure you have a post debate or whatever survey, and so if you want to come and share those findings or whatever, we can do that, because we need to support arts and culture like never before, because it's an outlet. There's messaging in there. The more we promote arts and culture, people have an outlet to express and that outlet for a mental health space. Just
Yes.
doodling and drawing, is a part of it. So, oh, I appreciate you.
I
And I can't
appreciate
wait
you,
to
and
see
I love you
you.
so much, and I
I
really
love you
appreciate the opportunity
too.
to talk to
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you. And if anything, if Charmaine and Freedom House lets me go a couple of seconds early, I'll try to pop down.
Yeah. If you can, I'd love to have you. If you can, take care of yourself, and I'll see you very soon.
All right, Richie, thank you. We'll talk to
Thank
you
you.
soon.
All
All right,
right.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Folks, I hope you were informed for We Need to Know Wednesdays at on two levels today. One, to get to know Domingo as a person. Yes, we did cover some of the his policy and candidacy as mayor for the city of Boston, and also learning from Richie from MASSCreative around the mayoral debate tonight, as well as she said, a majority of the at-large candidates will join them for a meet and greet at 5:30 p.m. at the Strand Theater in Dorchester. So please consider going out this evening. Also keep in mind this evening, and that's a bigger of a gap, is that at Grace by Nia tonight, I believe it's the Brothers of R&B. So that I get a little gap, and I'm going to try to make it down there, but let me just make sure I got the date right. I believe that is tonight. So as we talked yesterday with Kareen from the city of Boston, hold on for 1 second. Kings of R&B is tonight, July 30th at Grace by Nia, and it begins at, we have Apollo Payton, oh Jesus, Pat Loomis, Brother D, Leon Beal, okay, Ray Royale. Some of the text in this flyer is small. Ray Royale, Donnell Best, and Jayla had somebody, Jesus Lord, come to Grace by Nia tonight. We'll hopefully see you there. There I can about 7:30. Okay, that's it for me today. Tomorrow morning, actually we will not be here at 10 a.m. We are coming in tomorrow afternoon at 12 noon to speak for a few moments with Cindy Diggs at 12 noon about her event that's coming up. Don't forget, and that August 16th is one of those days where we're having about 4 or 5 events again. But she's coming in to talk about what she's saying it's her last event as a community organizer or activist. And so she's coming in tomorrow at 12 noon. Right now, we will not be here at 10 a.m. I have something that I need to do in support for a good friend of mine. So as of right now, unless they tell me they don't need me, we will be here at 12 noon tomorrow. If they don't need me, we'll be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. for Thankful Thursday and 12 noon with Cindy Diggs. So UC members, you all actually get 90 minutes today. It's 11:03. Thank you all for being here today. And we will see you tomorrow at Yes Mother, either at 10 a.m. or 12 noon. You know what, Miss Milagro? Wait till I see you again. You all have a wonderful day. Don't forget the debate tonight at 6 p.m. Also, the at-large candidate meet and greet at 5:30 p.m. at the Strand Theater in Dorchester. That's okay, Milagro.